Next. Yes, being recorded. Thank you very much. We have a mission to find the most active speakers currently right now. And that is saying much because during COVID, not much can happen because businesses go down, businesses go bankrupt. It's easy to say that you're helping the environment when your business is full and your cash flow is quite positive. It's another thing when your business is going through COVID, like many of us are right now. Cash flow is negative. You had to fire a few people. You had to unpaid leave a few people. So that is why it's super important for us to be able to not give up hope and keep on looking and searching who are the more active people in our community for us to get to know each other and absolutely to see how we can help each other. Today we have Lauren Blasco, who is the Director of Sustainability of Potato Head. So if you don't know Potato Head, it is a club and also provides accommodation and restaurant. And they have within their portfolio 3 restaurants, which I think Lauren will talk about later, which are trying to be different. Not just a restaurant that gives you food, but a restaurant that gives you food without destroying the environment. And making it not just as a cost saver, but as a reason of why you want to go to that restaurant. She is one of, I would say, very active sustainability activist of Bali. And I could not be more grateful for Lauren today to be part of this webinar, to be one of the exclusive speakers who we've selected to share the knowledge. So Lauren, welcome to the webinar. Thank you again. I know you're very busy, and I was kind of crossing my fingers when I was asking you, could you be a speaker? But I think I have good karma. And so you said yes, and here you are today. Lauren, welcome to the webinar, and thank you for being a speaker.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'll answer any questions or tell you guys what Potato Head has been up to since we closed last March. Maybe I can just give everyone a little bit of a brief on what Potato Head is.
Absolutely.
So,
but Lauren, let's introduce yourself. You know, who are you as a person, as a human being? You know, how long have you been in Bali? What has been your experience being? Don't think about sustainability. Being a person who lives in Bali.
okay.
Give a little bit about feedback. You know, what do you like about Bali? What don't you like? Why are you still here? You know, what was your calling? Give us a bit of human of the humanity of Lauren. Humanity of Lauren? That's the wrong word you're using.
So I moved to Bali about 6 years ago. Was previously living in Hong Kong for 7 years, and I had my first child, and it was time to get out of the city and be able to give my child a little bit more green space and a little bit more nature. So I moved with my husband and my oldest son now to Bali. I was working for a consultancy company, and I was teaching a sustainability class at NUS in Singapore, and it was project-based class. So I was commuting between Bali and Singapore, traveling around the region, etc. Bali is home. I had my second son here in Bali, and I can't think of a better place to raise a young family, especially during COVID.
Wow. So by the way, NUS is the national.
Everybody's frozen, so I'm not sure if you guys hear me.
Yeah, everybody's a little bit frozen, but it's okay. So NUS is the National University of Singapore. That's probably the best university in Singapore, or top 3. It's up there in one of the, I would say, internationally known, one of the best universities. I mean, there must be a lot of consideration from moving from one country to the other. What do you like about Singapore? What don't you like about it? And the same thing for Bali. What do you like about Bali? What don't you like about Bali?
I mean, Singapore is a great city. It's a great place for education. I have a 6 and a 4-year-old, so Bali is pretty magical for a young family. I love flying into Singapore, and I also love flying back into Bali. It's kind of like the best of both worlds, if I had to say. Bali is great. The energy here is great. People are extremely friendly. There's a lot of people on the ground that are really really interested in sustainability and making an impact. I guess all in all, we chose to be in Bali, right? You have choices in life, and we chose to be here, and our careers allowed us to stay, I guess. Maybe that makes more sense.
So you say that lots of people care about the environment in Bali. Are you saying that because you're in a sustainability friendly webinar, or do you actually, comparing to Hong Kong to Singapore, you would say that Bali is it as bad as people say it is, or is it not as bad as people say it is?
I think it's different, right? I think there's differences, right? I think when you talk about Hong Kong and Singapore, I think that there's a lot of sustainability initiatives, but they're implemented from a government standpoint. So I think the difference is in Bali, there's passionate people, and they're implementing different techniques and different protocols from a business standpoint or from a personal standpoint. So I think that's, if I had to say what's better, what's worse, what's different, there's governmental policies, and then there's policies that are implemented from a personal or business perspective.
And you would say let's say on a business perspective, it's easier to be more sustainable in Bali. Is that what you're trying to say in terms of?
I wouldn't say it's easier.
Right.
I would say there's a lot of people that live in Bali that are interested in implementing sustainability as part of their platform.
Oh.
I don't think it'll ever be easier because you don't have the infrastructure in place, but I think that there's a lot of people that are interested in implementing it into their business or implementing into their personal life.
And does it also make business sense financially, in your opinion? Like, do you see as being sustainable as just a cost saver, or do you see that it's actually the way to go in the future for all businesses?
I mean, I think it's for sure a way to go for all businesses in the future. I think when you look at what businesses are doing from a climate perspective, I think that there's no other alternative to not go this way.
Okay. So let's go back to Potato Head. So when you started at Potato Head, what was the culture like? You mentioned, the tagline of Potato Head is "Good times do good." When you first arrived at Potato Head, was there already a culture of sustainability, or what was it really just starting when you entered the company?
So there was already the culture of sustainability within Potato Head. This has kind of been an ongoing, but I think when you're in any type of industry and you start to implement a sustainability strategy, you constantly just grow and build on what you can do, right? So I joined Potato Head after they launched 𝘤𝘢𝘢𝘦, which is the zero waste restaurant. So that was, I guess, a really big push in terms of our sustainability initiatives here in Bali to open a zero waste restaurant. And from there, we also opened and launched our Sustainism Lab, which basically we looked at all the different waste streams that we didn't have a solution for and researched and designed different ways of what we can do with those waste streams, that there wasn't an alternative solution with a current waste collector or something that we knew that we could use those items for. So on site, we look at all the different waste streams that we have, and things that we don't have solutions for, we'll kind of do some research and development to figure out what we can do with those so that we can get to the point where we're fully zero waste to landfill.
Could you share a little bit about the restaurant 𝘤𝘢𝘢𝘦? So you said about zero waste approach. I also did some research, responsibly caught seafood. Now,
Yeah.
What does that mean really on an actual level, on a realistic level? Does that mean you're able to certify that the fish is caught sustainably? Or how does it work? What are the logistics? If you would share a bit of your company's secrets.
Yeah, so it does mean that it's sustainably caught. So it means that if a fish is caught, it has to be of a certain size. If it's not of a certain size, it needs to be released so that it can grow to a certain size. And there's different practices based on the type of fish. So it's line caught versus net caught, etc. So that it kind of, you are really eliminating taking things out of the ocean that shouldn't be taken out of the ocean because they're not at the level of where they should be for any of us to be eating them.
Hmm. Has there been any pushback in the beginning? Because of course I have to assume that fish caught with through line instead of net is more expensive. Because Toyota Head is a big company and there's many many brands. Yeah. So was there any pushback in the beginning?
I wasn't part of Potato Head at the beginning of it, so I'm not 100% sure. But there's a few sustainable fishery companies here in Bali that we work with. So I think that also eliminates some of the back and forth process, because there are sustainable fisheries here in Bali that are certified, and they have worked with fishermen all over Indonesia for different certifications depending on different types of fish, etc. So I think that we were able to highlight that for other restaurants and other hotels on what we're doing, etc. But there are companies that you can source from that have this similar practices to what we're all about.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of amazing when I talk about sustainable businesses. Especially when I'm talking to, sometimes we have some big resorts who talk to me and they're like, it's impossible. We're so big. It's impossible to be eco-friendly. And I usually always direct them to the example of Potato Head. But this is, Potato Head is known to be very busy, especially before COVID, with the whole tagline, good times do good. Like I said earlier, it's good to do good things when your business is really busy, full of cash flow, positive cash flow. But now it's COVID time, and of course, realistically, businesses some are on the brink of bankruptcy, some are closed, some are still closed until now. What is happening with Toyota Head now during these current times? I mean, realistically, obviously there's of course less customers, you have less tourism, people who usually go around the Kuta area, and I'm not a scientist, but I would say they're more short timers, so they'll stay here for 2-3 days, come to Bali, and then go back to either Australia or Singapore. So they come in and just want to get either wasted or just have a great time for a few days. Obviously now, because of COVID, the people who are here right now are not these people. There are people who have the commitment to at least stay here for 6 months or 1 year, not just because they want to commit to Bali, but also it's so expensive to just travel nowadays. You really want to be in Bali to be in Bali. First with the COVID testing, and then the quarantine, and then all the visa that you have to do. But what is happening with Toyota Head now in terms of the business side, in terms of how you're staying afloat, and in terms of probably the employees, the team? I'm sure, especially when COVID was happening, that kind of gradual decline of tourists every day, that must have hit hard the team. Do you want to share your experience of what happened and what's happening now?
Sure. So we closed in March of last year, and we recently just reopened on the 16th of May. So when we closed, of course, like everybody else, it was a very unknown time of how long this is going to be, what's going to happen. So after we closed and just kind of seeing how things were playing on in the world, one of the things that we looked at is we closed with 1,600 staff. And we said, okay, if 1,600 staff aren't going to be working for the foreseeable future, granted everybody was still on payroll, but if 1,600 staff, even if they still are on payroll, they're not getting service and all of the other stuff that they would typically get if the hotel is operational, they still need to eat. So we looked at it as we have human capital. We have 1,600 staff, and we have quite a bit of access to land around the island. So we decided to launch a farm. So we opened up a farm in Tabanan, where we are working on another project. And basically, we just said and committed to our staff that we would give them purpose, we would give them another set of skills, because most of our staff is first generation non-agriculture. So we said, okay, during this time, we will retrain all of our staff to understand agriculture, but in a sustainable way with no chemicals, etc. And we'll give them a skill set that they don't necessarily have or have been utilizing. We'll give them land to learn this new skill, and we'll provide them food. So if you're not working and money's not coming in, people still need to eat. So food security was definitely something on our heads as COVID was kind of continuing. So looking at our human capital that we have at Potato Head of 1,600 staff, looking at the access that we have to land, and looking at, we have a fairly young demographic of staff that is first generation non-agriculture, and at the same time everybody's looking for purpose and for how they can better themselves during a time where everything's so uncertain. So we launched this farm program. It's called Sweet Potato Project, and it's completely run by staff. In the beginning phases, it was run completely by volunteers. So all of the staff at Potato Head had the option, if they wanted to volunteer their time. Everybody would have access to the food that we were growing. And we also decided to utilize our kitchen staff as well. And we do plant-based nasi bangkus for distribution weekly as well. So we look at areas where we have a lot of staff, and we'll allocate a certain amount of meals to our staff. And then from there, we'll work with the community and the Banjar to also provide meals for the people that need it the most within those communities. So that happens once a week. And we've partnered up with Green School. So we've taken over one of the bio buses from Green School for this distribution, so that we can continue meeting as much of our sustainability goals as possible, even though this is a community-driven, employee-led impact project.
And this Sweet Potato Project, what is the plan? Is it a long-term plan, or is it only during COVID? What is the kind of the vision for this project?
Yeah, so I guess it started with basically being able to provide organic produce to our staff during COVID. When we started the project, we decided that we were going to commit to this project for a minimum of 2 years, because even if Bali did restart, it wouldn't restart with tourism's coming back in droves, just because of how the pandemic has played out. That said, this will be something that we continue, because as of now, the community needs it. So we'll continue on with this project for as long as the community and our current staff need assistance in terms of food, etc. And this will kind of roll into our Do Good platform at Potato Head. So this will be something that we continue to get our staff, even once we are reopened, on board with continuing with this project. So it will still be staff-led project to give back organic food to the community.
Was there, I mean, it sounds really good, right? You're making sure that the staff are doing something, not being bored. Was there a business sense to this? Was there a reason that this project was also initiated? Would you recommend this for all businesses to do, or?
I think that if you have human capital, you have land, I don't see why anyone would choose not to, right? But in terms of it being a business case, or was there a business component behind it? No, it was just, we have staff, people need to eat, we have land, let's just make this happen. It's kind of like, if you have a surplus of anything, why not utilize it when you know that there's definitely people on island, whether it's our staff or people in the community, that are going to need food.
Personally, I think yourself and Potato Head are being very humble, because I mean, yeah, it sounds pretty straightforward. Hey, we have human capital and our company has land. let's combine the two and utilize the land. I mean, it sounds very straightforward, but the fact is, it's one of the few companies who are actually doing it. So absolutely, it's not something normal. It's something super cool, super amazing. How can the community help? Can we visit the place, or is it strictly for employees right now? Is there any way that the community can get involved into this? Because it'd be good to share this around.
Yeah,
How does it work? Do we just go
for
there?
sure. So I guess a lot. Yeah, so we have one in Tabanon, and now we just recently launched one in KARANA. Yeah, the community can come. I We've had tons of different chefs from different restaurants, tons of different people from the community that are interested to see what we're doing, how we're doing it. We've had some people come to see how we're doing it. They volunteered their time, and then in turn, they've asked us if we can help them set up another farm in different parts of Bali where perhaps they own land, or even advise them on how they can engage with their community to set up community farms in more remote areas, etc. I started another project here in 𝘤𝘰𝘨𝘦 as well. There was about 40 ar of land that was taken over by the bank because somebody defaulted on a loan. So I did a little bit of research and found out who owned the land and approached them if we were able to farm the land until they sold it, because it's just been sitting vacant for about 15 years. So I also helped the village of 𝘤𝘰𝘨𝘦 start a community farm here, all done with the same type of ideas of organic farming. I'm not gonna be as funny about it, but when I first had the idea, only about 4 families were interested in participating because they told me I was crazy for doing organic farming, that you can't do it without chemicals. So I said, okay, if you want to be part of the program, we have the land. I'll provide all the seeds, the seedlings, everything that we need to get started. But the only thing that we have to follow is that it has to be organic. We're not going to be using any type of fertilizer and chemicals. So, but now that we are about 9 months into it, I think we have like 40 families involved, and I've completely removed myself. So once people start seeing things grow, minds and things change. So I think sometimes it's just about having having something tangible to show people to see that it's really possible. Because even when we started the farm in Tabanon, a lot of people told us that we weren't going to be able to grow certain things there, that we needed to use soil from 𝘸𝘰𝘭𝘥, etc. But I guess after setting up the farm in Tabanon and setting up the farm in 𝘠𝘢𝘯𝘀 and even in 𝘤𝘰𝘨𝘦, like everything grows everywhere in Bali. The soil is extremely fertile.
Bali is extremely fertile in general. So
Yeah.
we're very lucky because we don't live in a climate where it's too hot or too cold. We can actually grow anything, and there's so much food everywhere. We just have to know how to look for it, how to plant it, and to use what we have. I mean, right now, one of my projects is very similar. It's called the 𝘤𝘢𝘯𝘨 project. It's all about turning unused land into making it useful, exactly like your story. And yeah, it's kind of surprising how, especially in the beginning, there's a lot of pushback, a lot of fear. Oh, are you composting? Is that waste? I don't want my place to be a waste. What is happening? So it's we need to do more of this, and we need more people to do this many more places around Bali. Because during COVID, what do we actually need? We need food, we need community, and we need shelter. Most of us have shelter, most of us have a house, hopefully. Most of us are in a community, and now for the food, we just have to grow it. It it's pretty straightforward. For Do you have any advice? Because obviously I wouldn't consider yourself a regular person. You're somebody who's able to scale up, who's able to persuade a grand amount of people. Do you have any advice on how to get started? Let's say somebody just arrived in Bali, or somebody's been living here and they want to get more active. They feel that something is missing and they want to do something. Like, do you have any advice from your point of view? Like, where do you start? where would somebody start if they want to do something?
Active meaning in community, active meaning in setting up a farm. What do you mean?
Exactly. So when you started the projects, the Sweet Potato Project, it's a combination of combining community and farming and turning unused land to make it useful. If somebody wants to start something like this, what would be your suggestions? Would it be to find unused land? What would be the first step that you would recommend somebody? Would it be to get in touch with you, for example, or to get in touch with your neighbor? What would be your first step that you would recommend somebody to do what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess having access to land or finding access to land would definitely be the number one thing. But then also having um, the human capital to actually nourish the land to allow things to grow.
Mm.
I think that's an interesting thing is having. I'm sure you're maybe seeing it at 𝘤𝘢𝘯𝘦, but having regular people come and work on the farm day in and day out is really what you need in order to nourish that you actually have food growing. You can't just come 3 times a week and water it. It really needs to be nourished and loved in order for it to properly grow.
Right.
And rainy season wasn't very gentle on us this year, so that throws in a few extra and a lot of extra time and energy that goes into it.
Absolutely. The rainy season was heavy, very heavy, too much, too fast. And now we're entering the dry season, and now it's just really, really dry. I can't imagine the struggle. Let's go back to Pale Ahead for 1 second. Let's go back to tourism, because obviously I think we're all expecting tourism to take its time to come back, but also that the tourists themselves will not be what they were before. What is the plan? Does Puerto have a plan to capture this new target market?
I think as of right now, so we just reopened on the 16th of May. We launched the Beach Club, and it was kind of, people say, why May 16th? It was kind of one of those things that we've been closed for 14 months. And you just have to kind of pick a date and stick to it, because as we all know, things change and they change daily. 1 minute there's quarantine, the next minute it's extended, then Bali's reopening, it's not. So I think you can't really plan based on different announcements because they change so quickly, and the world changes so quickly. So we decided to reopen on the 16th, and we reopened the Beach Club, and so far so good. It's giving us an opportunity to retrain our staff and kind of let everybody get back into the swing of things. I think after not working for a lot of people for 14 months, I think it's a lot going back to full-time work. So far so good. We're planning to continue to open up other avenues, the hotel, different outlets in Potato Head as we progress. In terms of exact time frame, I think it's just going to be kind of a touch and go as we bring back our project team to focus on different projects to get the property back to where it needs to be. And in terms of how we are looking to capture the market, I think one thing, after seeing how COVID has affected tourism in general and participating on a good amount of hospitality calls, I think one thing that everyone's really talking about and seeing is that the people that will be traveling when the world does reopen, they're looking for different types of holidays per se. They're probably a bit more of a longer term traveler. They're not coming for 3 to 4 days, because coming for 3 to 4 days when you have to quarantine them on both sides of your trip doesn't really make sense. So there are people that are coming to stay longer. And I think the other thing that a lot of people had time to think about during COVID is what impact or what they're doing or what their place is, et cetera. How can they better themselves? So I think one thing that we're also seeing and hearing is that people, when they do make a trip or take a holiday or they go somewhere for an extended period of time, they're also looking at how they can provide impact or be involved in the community that they're going to, instead of doing the one-off day at an orphanage or handing out food or things like that. They're looking at how they can really intertwine themselves, whether that be sustainability or impact or education, etc., within the place that they're going.
And that's actually an interesting point. You mentioned a one-off gesture is not what's going to feel impactful. It's going to be a more long-term commitment to helping a movement or a cause. Now, don't take it the wrong way, but of course, Spirit of the Head is a club. There's alcohol. It's all about having fun and partying. Is that changing? Are you seeing more? Well, actually, the first question is: does Spirit of the Head plan already has a service where they connect these movements with the customers? That's the first question. And the second one, do you see a change in what the customers want? Do you see maybe a decline in alcohol sales, but increase in juices or fruit juices? I mean, it's a very bad example, but is there any plans from Put to the Head, or is there already one that's already going on about connecting these movements with the customers? Hello.
I think one thing that we've always done is like you said, our tagline is "Good times do good." So we always feel that people come and have a good time, but then there's also opportunities for them to do good. So as part of Potato Head, we always have opportunities for people that want to do both. We have our Sustainalism Lab that offers workshops to learn about zero waste philosophy, to learn about circular products, to learn about circular procurement. We also have different initiatives within our health and well-being, whether that be different types of workshops, etc., with different people on island that specialize in different things. So we always try to have a balance where if you want to come and have a good time, but you can also do good, whether that be from sustainability, whether that be through yourself, whether that be doing workshops. If we have different specialists come in and do collaborations, it's something that pre-COVID or post-COVID, it's something that we've always done. We always are working with different organizations. Some we've worked with for quite a long time. Some new organizations start up. The Sweet Potato Project is going to be something that we do incorporate as part of our community program. So if we have guests that are interested in learning more about how we did it, why we do it, etc., that's something that we can also offer them as well.
And is it currently open to the public?
Your second, pardon?
Is the Sustainable Lab open to the public?
Yep. So everything that we offer at Sustainalism Lab, if you're a day guest, if you just want to come in to understand what we're doing, or if you're a guest that was staying with us at the hotel, everything is accessible to everybody. I think the philosophy that we also have at Potato Head in terms of our sustainability and do good is open source. So anything that we're doing at our hotel is shared to another hotel or another restaurant. So if you have a restaurant and you said, I wanted to understand what you guys are doing for your zero waste concept, that's something that we're happy to share. So it's kind of, we're doing it for the betterment of the environment. It's not a secret. It's if we're doing something we want and you want to do it, it's better for the environment. So it's a solution that's shared.
Okay. So you heard it here first. You can go there. It's open to the public. The question is, how can we find out more about the workshops on the website? Does Put to the Head post about these workshops online, or where do we find more information about this?
Yeah, usually it's online or on our Instagram. So we're kind of revamping everything now that we're reopening. So I think the Sustainability Lab will be reopening in July.
Okay.
Yep.
So in July, then we can go visit. Do we call Spirit of the Head first to make sure it's open, or we just go?
There'll be a posted schedule of the different workshops, but it's something that in normal times is open every day. So anyone can just pop in. There's somebody in there that's always available to talk through, and it kind of also showcases all of our kind of circular items that we've created from our different waste streams, etc.
Okay. We're nearing the last 10 minutes of this webinar. Anybody in the audience have any questions? From Nia Klate, sorry if I said your name wrong. Do you have any programs in place to work on food waste? Lauren, do you have any programs in Put It Ahead?
Do we have any? Yes, we do. So we do. So we have a facility that we compost a majority of our food waste. So anything that's organic and compostable, we compost in KARANA. And the other food waste that we have, we also work with a few different pig farms. So we have different separations between our organic compost and our pig food. So all of our food waste has a solution. Some of the stuff we reuse ourselves and that we make into other items, but everything that's organic and compostable goes to compost, and then a majority of the other items go to the pig feed.
Thank you. Thank you. For just a curiosity, because you said there was 3 restaurants, right? There's also Tanaman at Katamama.
I'm sorry?
There's a restaurant in the whole Potato Head thing called Tanaman at Katamama. Is that right? Am I saying it right?
Tanaman, yes. So Tanaman's our plant-based restaurant.
Okay, so that must be easier to compost. Question from Moto G6. Can people volunteer from overseas to be volunteers in your project or projects? Is there a volunteer program for Potato Head?
We don't have like I guess, a formalized program, but if people are in Bali and they want to participate or volunteer in any of the programs, they're more than welcome to, yeah.
So is there a way to reach out? Do we email Potato Head, or what's the usual procedure if people want to get involved and or want to get to know more about what Potato Head is doing?
I guess it depends on what different department, but I can share my email if there's somebody on this call that is interested in participating or kind of communicating further. I'm happy to share. If you email just the generic Potato Head one, it will just be directed to whatever department you're inquiring on. But yeah, it typically just goes through the info at Potato Head, and then it will be kind of cascaded down from there.
Okay, so let me just type it in, and I hope it's correct in the chat box. info@potatohead.com.
.co.
.co. Okay,
yeah.
So that's the general one to send it to, and then it'll eventually reach you, hopefully.
Or you can, if it's somebody on here, you can share my WhatsApp or my email as well. It's perfectly fine.
Okay, cool. That's fair enough. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, everybody here on this call today, we're not, most of us are very sustainability minded, and we just want to be involved. And this is our moment to really connect with one another, to also not feel so alone in what we're doing. Now, I got a question, and it's, do you ever feel that sometimes, because when COVID happened, many people just let go of the employees and let them find jobs or do whatever. When does Potato Head ever feel like they're over helping or helping too much? Is there so much as a thing called over helping?
I think one of the reasons why we kind of really honed in on this food project is it allowed everybody who wanted to be involved to get involved, right? So it's not just about over helping or giving people something, you're also teaching them a skill set. So then, like a lot of the people that participated on the farm a lot, 5-6 days a week, that have access to land in their village, started their own farm projects, whether it be at their home because they had land, or whether it be in their village. So it was one of the things, like, we're trying to help people that need help, but then at the same time teach people so that they can do it themselves.
Right. So teaching people to be more independent. I got a question from Daniel, who's my dad. He says, do you use your organic food on your menu, or do you have organic dishes in your restaurant?
Organic dishes in the restaurant in terms of our produce, etc.?
Yes.
Yeah. So all of our produce pre-COVID was sourced from different organic farms. Perhaps when we see some sort of recovery in Bali, maybe we'll start using some of our own produce when it's not necessarily needed in the community. But yeah, all of our produce is from pre-COVID from different organic farms here in Bali.
And I have to ask, during COVID, like, what's the situation now? Is it more 50-50, or what's the deal?
Is what?
during COVID, like during right now,
Yeah.
of course, are you still, is there still like a, a goal to have your food fully organic, or is it now 50-50 between conventional and organic food?
I think in terms of organic versus conventional, I think we'll always go with organic if it's an option.
Okay.
In terms of how we've only been open for not even 2 weeks. So in terms of our sourcing and how much we're going through, et cetera, I don't have the numbers offhand on exactly how much produce and stuff we're going through at the moment, but we're always looking to do everything as sustainable and organic as possible.
Good. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Dad. And we have a question from Johnny Bali Stay. Johnny.
Thanks, Krishna. Hi, Lauren. I have to say that the sweet potato project's the best thing I've heard that a big company's done during this pandemic. I think it's absolutely fabulous and a great inspiration. And sorry for this question.
Yeah.
Are you pricing things the same as pre-COVID, or have you reduced your pricing? And when you open your hotel, will you be pricing the hotel rooms pre-COVID prices, or do you have special prices now?
Yeah, so I think this is something that we're kind of working through at the moment. So we haven't relaunched the hotel property just yet. So we're kind of looking at how we're going to go about relaunching post-COVID. In terms of our like F&B, et cetera, I guess I'm just going to be very direct. I'm not 100% sure because it's not part of my bandwidth in terms of the F&B pricing food. I know that we've definitely changed the menu a bit, trying to hit at what we can get from the local market versus overseas, et cetera. So I don't 100% know. I'm happy to kind of circle back with you, get a little bit of information internally and circle back with you on that, because I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Lauren. Lauren, just had a question on chat. It said, can we reach out to you through WhatsApp, or is there a way we can reach out to you directly?
Yeah, I'll just reply on that and share my WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is probably the easiest.
Everybody in Indonesia uses WhatsApp. It's the most common way to communicate, although it must be quite overwhelming sometimes.
It's quite overwhelming when you have people overseas in different time zones, because you wake up and then you see you have hundreds of WhatsApps. I just shared.
Wow. So for those who are joining the webinar, this is a real treat, because I mean, Lauren's a very busy person, and for her to share her WhatsApp, it's really her way of showing that, hey, we're all in this together, and we are going to make it if we work together. Now we're entering the last minute of the webinar. Lauren, do you have any parting remarks? Do you have anything you want to say to the audience today?
Sure, I guess I can share. I think most of us are here based in Bali, right? If anybody's interested in learning more about what we're doing, or if there's things that we can collaborate on that you're having questions about, that maybe we can kind of talk through together or work on different projects together. We don't have all the solutions. We're always trying to learn from each other and figure out ways to collaborate. One of the things that I guess I'm working quite a bit on is the new waste streams post-COVID, because there's plenty of them, and figuring out what we can do with those solutions. I think pre-COVID at Potato Head, we were about 3% residue, which I think is fairly good from a hospitality standpoint. With guests, you can't control everything, so you always have some one-off diapers, et cetera. But now we're looking at a whole new area of post-COVID waste. So we are doing some research at the moment on it now. But if there's anyone else on this call, which I think there's definitely a few people that are in hospitality, if there's a way that we can kind of work together to come up with solutions, et cetera, I'm happy to brainstorm and try to work together on some of these items. Or if anyone's interested in coming by, we reopened. I'm happy to host you guys. Just now you have my WhatsApp, so shoot me a message. And I'm happy to show you guys around and have you guys all to come back and check out Potato Head.
Thank you, Lauren. And be nice to Lauren. Don't call her up at 2 a.m. just because you want to talk, because you're lonely or something. She won't be too happy about that. No one will be. Lauren, it's been thank you so much for being on this call, for being a speaker, for sharing your experiences, for sharing what's happening at Puerto Head. Because Puerto Head is not, personally for me, it's not just a club or a bar or a place to have fun, but it's also a role model to all the other big hotels and businesses in Bali to be eco-friendly. And that's easier said than done, to be honest. That's much easier said than done. So for everybody on this call, let's give a big thank you to Lauren. Lauren, thank you so much for being a Bali Pledge speaker. We are grateful for your presence. And for everybody, thank you very much and have a great day. Bye.
Thanks a lot.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lauren.
Bye.
Bye.